Hare Krishna, everyone. My humble obeisances to you all. So, can I start? Will somebody confirm?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, I think
We can start, Mataji.
Okay, wonderful. So, I'll start with Mangla Charan. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utpadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Karpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Okay, I'm going to share my screen so that it's easier for everyone to follow. So we covered the second verse of NOI yesterday, And today we are going to cover the third verse. So it's again a very, very instructive text. And like I said yesterday, that NOI is a book of application. So we should approach NOI in that mood, that whatever is being said, that's why Prabhupada decided to call it Nectar of Instruction, because it's a very instructive book. It's meant for application. Okay, so I just read the shloka and then somebody can read the translation. Utsaha nishaya dhairya tat tat karma pravartanat sangatyaga sato vritte shadbir bhakti prasidyati. Somebody can read?
6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotion service. First, being enthusiastic. Second, endeavoring with confidence. Third, being patient. Fourth, acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. Fifth, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And sixth, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service.
Thank you. So if we see that in the previous verse, Rupa Goswami had talked about Jana Sangha, and in this he's talking about Sangha Tyaga. So basically both of them mean the same thing, abandoning the association of non-devotees. So it's a very, very important factor if we want to progress in the spiritual life. We should always check what is our association like. Like it is said that we become who we associate with. So it's very important to keep a track of who your association is. Who is it that you're associating with? Because association means transfer of consciousness. So it's very important that we are aware whose consciousness we are actually taking in. And is it something that we are consciously doing, or is just that we are very careless about who we associate with and end up taking their association and their consciousness? Okay, so first three, being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, and being patient. These three are attitudes. But fourth, fifth, and sixth, which is acting according to the regulative principles, abandoning the association of non-devotees, and following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, these three are activities. So first three are attitudes, and the next three are activities or behavior. Okay, so let's read. Prabhupada has given such amazing commentary on these verses, so we'll actually end up eating quite a bit of it. So somebody can read what I have highlighted. Can somebody please read that?
Krishna Mataji, yeah, I will.
Okay, read. Thank you.
Just devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Its substance is practical activity. Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.1.11, has defined the devotional service as follows. Anyavilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishna anushilanam bhaktiruttama. Uttam Bhakti, or unalloyed devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, involves the rendering of the devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from any extraneous motive and devoid of fruitive karma, impersonal jnana, and all other selfish desires. Should I continue?
No, wait. Thank you. And before I proceed, did you guys do the exercise that I mentioned yesterday? Did anybody go back and see how, those 6 attitudes or 6 faults are there in our own practice? Atyahara
I'm
prayashascha
very
purva.
sorry, Mataji. I got to remember in the daytime, but I forgot to write
No
pen it
problem.
down. I
No
will do
problem.
it for
Yeah.
sure.
Anybody else tried doing it? No? Okay. So here Prabhupada is giving the definition of Uttama Bhakti or unalloyed devotion service as quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And he says that it has to be favorable to the Lord. Favorable is an attitude. We can remember the Lord, we can focus on the Lord, but it has to be done in a favorable mood, in a mood of service. Something that is done to please Krishna. The intent is to please Krishna. Like you people have covered NOD? You have finished NOD? Yes.
Yes,
Okay. So in NOD or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we see that it is not the activity has to be pleasing, it is the intent to please which is important. And our acharyas mentioned that you may do some activity which pleases Krishna, even if you didn't have an intent. So that does not really count as pure devotional service. Pure devotional service means there has to be an intent to please Krishna. Ultimately, it's quite even possible that it may not really please him. But if you have the intent, then it is pure devotional service. So that is why it is very, very important to remember what is the consciousness, what is the mood, what is the intent, what is the attitude behind our devotional service. If the intent is to please Krishna, then it is pure devotional service. And we may do certain things which Krishna might find pleasing, but if the intent wasn't there, it is not really counted as pure devotional service. So that's something that we should be aware of.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, I have a question here. Can I ask?
Yeah, please.
Mataji, thank you. Mataji, you just mentioned the intent is not there, but the service may be pleasing to Krishna. So in this case, we see that many of us friends, family members are not favorable as such to Krishna consciousness, particularly to ISKCON, that why only ISKCON, right? So, but like myself, I am trying to do some seva with the money earned by my husband. And because I have heard from the senior devotees that Agya Sukriti is there, he will get. So, how can we understand this?
How do we
That,
understand that the intent wasn't there, but still it was pleasing to
yeah,
Krishna?
yeah,
That's your
yeah,
question?
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
we can see that in Krishna Leela. All the demons who came in Vrindavan, their desire was to kill Krishna. They did not really want to please Krishna. But Krishna was very happy that they all came because he got to taste Veer Rasa. So it is mentioned by our acharyas that before eating lunch every day, Krishna used to kill one demon. And he used to really enjoy that part. He used to really enjoy that activity. So even though they ended up pleasing Krishna, but that their intent wasn't to please him, their intent was to kill him. So it is not the end result which counts, it is the intent which counts. Similarly, the example of Yashoda Maya is given that when she actually ties down Krishna during Damodar Leela, Krishna is not really happy, he's crying. He's crying, he's upset. But since her intent was to please Krishna, her intent was to serve Krishna in a way that is favorable, her actions are counted as pure devotional service. So it is the intent which really determines the result. Okay?
Okay, yes, Mataji, yeah, we have covered these examples
Yeah.
therein. So, in what the example that I have cited, how should I
That is
understand
Agyat
that?
Sukriti. I mean, you are
Okay.
trying to give him Agyat Sukriti and using Lakshmi that he earns in the service of the Lord will give him that Agyat Sukriti. And, when enough is accredited, then he will come to devotional service. Krishna will give him that very strong opportunity.
Okay, fine. Thank you. And the next thing, the other opposite thing you said, that the intent is pure, but the service may not be so, perfect. Then
Yeah.
it is pleasing to Krishna. So
Yes.
that Krishna sees our best efforts, right?
Krishna sees the intent. You know, you
Okay.
may be very expert in doing some service, but if the intent to please him is not there, Krishna is not really
Hmm.
pleased.
Hmm.
What he takes is the bhav. He's bhav grahi
Hmm.
Janardhan.
Yeah, yeah.
He takes the
Understood.
intent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you may be a great preacher, but if the desire is not to please Krishna or to, please Guru, then however wonderful preaching you may be doing, it is not really pleasing to Krishna.
So then, if if behind the preaching your desire is to get the name, fame, followership, then obviously it's not pleasing to Krishna.
Yeah.
You might be giving name Krishna consciousness to others, but it is not
See,
pleasing.
if the desire is not to please Krishna and Guru, then there is definitely a desire for sense gratification somewhere. It
Yeah,
may be very
sure.
subtle, but if the
Hmm.
desire is not to please Krishna, then there is a desire to please someone, right? Who's that person?
Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, so then Prabhupada says bhakti is a sort of cultivation. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. So this is really brilliant. This is Prabhupada's genius. When he translates bhakti, he does not translate it as devotion. He translates it as devotional service, which means that bhakti is not an idle process. It is not just sitting at one place and meditating. It involves activity. You need to do something. There is some action involved in bhakti. So that's what Prabhupada is saying here. He says meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. For a conditioned soul, it is very, very difficult to be able to meditate on the Lord. Very difficult. Because the mind is so agitated, it is very difficult to focus on the Lord uninterruptedly. So, this whole idea of trying to act in a way which is favorable not only purifies one, not only stops one's nonsensical material activities, but also engages all the senses favorably. So it is a win-win situation. So this is what Prabhupada is saying here. And then Prabhupada quotes Prahlad Maharaj and the 9 processes of devotional service. And then he says that Shravanam or hearing is the first step in acquiring transcendental knowledge. One should not give oral reception to unauthorized persons, but should approach the proper person as recommended in Bhagavad Gita 4:34. Tadviti pranipratena pariprashnena sevaya. So this is also very important. What we take in, is of paramount importance, because what we take in is what is going to come out. So it's very important that we be cognizant of what we are really taking in, what is going in. So that's why Prabhupada is saying here that it is the first step in acquiring transcendental knowledge. Shravanam, or transcendental sound, is the way to actually become fully realized. Shravanam is the starting point, or transcendental anavriti shabdat is actually the first thing to get. If you want to become self-realized, if you want to establish relationship with anybody, first we need to hear. So that's why Prabhupada is saying that it is the first step of acquiring transcendental knowledge. Shabda is taken in through hearing. Shabda is not taken in through intelligence. Shabda is taken in through hearing, submissive hearing. And then Prabhupada quotes from Mundak Upanishad. He says it's further recommended in the Mundak Upanishad that Vijnanartham sa gurum ivabhigachet. To understand that transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Thus, this method of submissively receiving transcendental confidential knowledge is not merely based on mental speculation. So here, Prabhupada is actually talking about Sato Vritte. This is actually Sato Vritte, which is one of the aspects, one of the behaviors or activities of a person who is actually trying to gain success in pure devotion service. And Sato Vritti means to follow in the footsteps of an acharya, to follow in the footsteps of a bona fide authority. So Prabhupada is here talking about how one must actually accept a spiritual master, shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, and inquire from him very submissively and render service to him and follow the instructions that he gives. Then Prabhupada says, the material world is a place of confinement for the living entities who are by nature anandmaya, pleasure seeking. Yeah, this material world, Prabhupada says in many places that this material world is actually an embarrassment for the spirit soul. It's an embarrassment because some an entity which is completely spiritual in nature is trapped in a finite world, which is not really giving anything to a spirit soul. So it's a very embarrassing situation to be trapped in a place out of your own volition and where you're not happy. So Prabhupada says that many times. And then he says they actually want to be free from the confinement of this world of conditional happiness. And this is some things that sometimes when we are executing devotional service and we can experience that transcendental pleasure. Krishna gives that glimpse of transcendental bliss that is there in devotional service. Sometimes during a very wonderful kirtan, we get that impression. Sometimes while listening to a very wonderful lecture, we get that taste. Or sometimes when we are trying to serve Krishna, doing preaching or doing some other service, we get a taste of that. And then we realize that the kind of happiness that we are running after in this material world is nothing compared to even a drop of that bliss. So for a soul or for a spirit soul or a jiva, it's a very, very crazy situation. We're stuck in a world where none of our, none of the true nature really gets satisfied. Sat, Chit and Anand. Sat is eternal. We are in a world which is temporary. Chit, full of knowledge. We have even forgotten the Sambandh Vigyan. We have even forgotten what our relationship with Krishna is, which is an eternal relationship. And Anand, there is no actual bliss in this place. There's only some fleeting happiness, but no bliss. So imagine a soul whose characteristic is Satchit and Anand is trapped in a world where none of these things can be satisfied. So it is a very, very frustrating and very demoralizing experience for a soul. And Prabhupada says that when by good fortune one comes in contact with a pure devotee and hears from him patiently, one begins to follow the path of devotional service. Such an opportunity is offered to a person who is sincere. So this is the key, that who comes in contact with a pure devotee and actually follows him and tries to apply it in his life. But this sincerity is required. So sincere word is very interesting. During the time of Renaissance, sincere, the root of sincere is sincera, which, this was a word used in Latin during the time of Michelangelo and other such sculptors. So the stone, they used to order marble, and a lot of times the marble that would come, it would look fine from, like, when you see it, it would look absolutely fine, no cracks, nothing. But once they would start sculpting, that marble would break, because the sellers, what they used to do, they used to fill the cracks with wax. So during the time of sculpting, that marble would come apart. So then all these sculptors during the Renaissance time would, when they would order marble, they used to write that sincera, this marble should be sincera, which means no cracks, no wax. That's the meaning of sincera. And sincere word is derived from that word. So it means that a devotee should have no wax and no cracks. So can anybody explain what it really means by having no wax and no cracks for a devotee?
Hare Krishna Mataji, not any personal motive. Anya Vilashitashram.
Hmm?
and and the intent is to please Krishna, not for anything, to please Krishna and Guru. So
Yeah.
this is what sincerity means, right? When
Yeah.
we take initiation, we say that I will give my heart and soul to Guru Maharaj. So this is what sincerity. What I feel. You please correct me.
Yeah. No, you're right. But when we talk about no cracks and no wax, what it means is you are inside out the same. There is no pretense, there is no false persona that you are projecting. Actually, we cannot really make real advancement till we are situated on a platform which is real. If we pretend to be something we are not, we can't really advance from that. We have to be situated in reality, that where are we right now? What is my actual level? And from there we can actually advance. So that is what it means by no cracks and no wax in case of a devotee. And this is a sign of sincerity, that you can actually look at your own situation with all honesty and accept where you're at and not really project a persona. Okay? So somebody can.
Mataji, I have a doubt here, not exactly doubt. You mentioned a very beautiful point that inside and outside the same. But sometimes we see, even I see for myself, I don't want to be pretended, but somehow some nature is like that. That may be annoying to others, right? Like for me, I just give you one example that I used to be very straightforward, very straightforward. And I know that it might have depressed many devotees who didn't know me, what exactly I am. But Radhakishori Mataji could understand because she is my mentor, been for 9-10 years. Initially, this was the tug of war for me to make her understand that my intention was not bad. Initially, but gradually she understood what is my nature. I'm inside and outside the same. But somehow I have to stop myself. No, ऐसे नहीं चलेगा. I have to change myself. Or somehow where the things I'm not saying wrong or whatever, but somehow I have to restrict my nature. No, you cannot do it like this. And Krishna consciousness corrected me many times, and by its mercy, I am what I am today. Though I'm not fully corrected myself. So how to understand? You have to pretend somehow. You have to, be
Actually,
quiet.
straightforward and diplomacy don't really go together. So
Yeah.
straightforward means that you can see our even present gurus. Some of them,
Hmm.
they're so simple and so childlike. They're completely straightforward. They will tell you everything. They'll give you when they're giving a class, they'll tell you, oh, now I have to leave because I have to go here, and then I have to eat, and then I have another meeting. So when you deal with them, you can see that they have that childlike innocence, that childlike quality. That's the quality of a devotee.
Hmm.
Because somewhere or the other, one realizes when one advances that all I really care about is what Krishna and my Guru and the Vaishnavas, exalted Vaishnavas, think about me. I don't really need to have a profile. It doesn't really
Hmm.
matter. Whatever, if I think something about you, how does that change your life? It doesn't really change your life. But what Krishna thinks about you, what your Guru thinks about you is what is of paramount significance. So when they realize that and they are, situated in humility, then it's easy to be straightforward. And straightforwardness doesn't mean that we are blunt or we speak in a way which is agitating to others. We can be straightforward in a very sweet, soft way, which is not really agitating to others. And Prabhupada says in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says this is the austerity of tongue, to be truthful and yet say in a way which is palatable for others. and helpful. So it is an art. It is not something that we may have naturally, but it is an art that we need to acquire. And we also need to understand that the simpler we are, the more straightforward we are, the easier it is for us to progress.
True.
And easier it is for us to attract mercy.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so now Prabhupada says that one should accept this opportunity to return home back to Godhead very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. So the first thing in this verse was utsaha, which means enthusiasm. So now Prabhupada is talking about that. He said one has to be very enthusiastic in devotional service. Enthusiasm means action, but action for whom? The answer is that one should always act for Krishna. Krishna Artha Kila Cheshta Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So he's saying that just being enthusiastic, oh, I'm very enthusiastic, oh, very enthusiastic is of no significance if it does not result in some action. If you are enthusiastic, some action has to be there. So Prabhupada is talking very practically here. He's trying to explain what Rupa Goswami says very practically, that all these things, all these attitudes have to reflect somewhere in our actions. So utsaha also needs to reflect in our actions. And as we grow older in bhakti, as we spend more and more time in bhakti, we should be aware of the fact that somehow or the other we have to keep this enthusiasm burning. And one way that you can really figure out if you are progressing or not is how enthusiastic you are. If one is really practicing sadhana bhakti nicely, that enthusiasm is going to remain and it's going to grow. The enthusiasm starts to come down when we are not really practicing sadhana bhakti the way we should. So that's another thing. And okay, 1 second. Then Prabhupada says, as he is explaining these terminologies, he says that endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha or enthusiasm. So endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness. That means that the endeavor obviously should be, thought about, not just some random endeavor. That endeavor needs to be planned and it has to be in Krishna consciousness. What does it mean? What do we understand by the statement in Krishna consciousness? That's my question. Maybe somebody can answer this. Prabhupada uses this very much, like devotional service in Krishna consciousness. And sometimes you may think, what's the difference between devotional service and Krishna consciousness? What does this sentence really mean? Devotional service in Krishna consciousness. So when he says endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness, what do we really understand by that?
Mataji, people may mean, if Prabhupada doesn't write in Krishna consciousness, people may mean that worshipping so many demigods and, personalities may also be the devotional service.
Okay, that's one aspect, but in case of devotees, say, for devotees, how is this applicable?
Not for any personal motive or intention.
Okay, that it basically means becoming conscious of Krishna, becoming, be aware of this, that this particular activity that I'm trying to do is for the pleasure of the Lord. It is meant to be offered to Him for His pleasure. So that is actually acting in Krishna consciousness. Use your intelligence, but with the motivation that I want to please Krishna. I want to please my spiritual master. I want to please the, acharyas by the way I am executing this particular activity. That is enthusiasm, the desire to please. So that's what Prabhupada is talking about here. And then he says the devotees find the correct means by which everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. The execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. And these activities must be executed with patience. That's the third point. Utsaha, Nishaya, Dhairya. So he's saying that these activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Very, very important lesson to learn. So maybe we can brainstorm a little. How do we really become impatient in Krishna consciousness? Where all do we display this impatience in Krishna consciousness?
In chanting.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, sorry, please continue.
Somebody was saying something. Who was it?
I think
Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, please say. Mandaleshwar Prabhu, go ahead.
In chanting, Mataji.
In
Impatient.
chanting, how will you say that you're impatient while chanting?
In everything we have used physical body, but in this case we have to use our mind, concentrate and focus on that. That time we will become impatient because we know the activity doing with the external body only, but we little bit know about mind, how it functions. That's why I'm saying impatient.
Yeah. So are you trying to say that while chanting, we become impatient, that the mind is still flickering or mind is still wandering? Is that what you're trying to say?
Mataji?
I didn't. What do you mean by impatience in chanting? So could you please
Exactly, Mataji. In chanting, in different cooking activity or different activity, we can use our body and everything. That is, we can see it, but mind we could not focus and we can't stable it and set it focus. That's why I'm saying it.
So we are not able to focus the mind. So what is the impatience here?
Hare Krishna Mataji, if you allow, I would like to add a point. When we are doing chanting, it becomes mechanical if we are having a lack of time to finish, or while we are traveling. So like focus is not to memorize or to
Remember.
relish the holy names. So there it
Yeah.
comes impatience while reading the shastras. Also we are too impatient just to, I have to complete my quota of reading, so I'm just reading and reading, so I'm not getting understanding of a word, what Prabhupada is mentioning, what our acharyas are saying.
Yeah.
So there I
Thank
believe.
you. Thank you. Actually, we live in the world of instant. Everything is instant. The noodles are instant, the coffee is instant, everything is instant. We need instant reciprocation, instant validation. So even when we hear so much about the glories of chanting, and we sit down to chant, and then we try to focus, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. The mind keeps running away, and after some time, we even stop trying because we are so impatient. We're like, oh, this doesn't work. This process doesn't work because I've been trying to focus my mind, but it's not working. So similarly, we may do that with each and every activity of spiritual life. We want instant result. We don't realize that we have come to this contaminated state in many lifetimes. Maybe like Prabhupada says, sometimes uses the word time immemorial. So that's how much time we have taken to come to the stage or state of contamination we are in. And we want instant result, that okay, I actually spent lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes collecting these layers of contamination, but if I chant in 1 year 2 year, I should see the difference. I should really see that my mind has become completely stable, and I can experience Krishna, I can experience bliss. So this is the impatience. And for a devotee, it is actually a killer. This impatience is a killer for a devotee, because we have to understand that our timeline and Krishna's timeline are not the same. For us, what seems like maybe, millions of years, for Krishna is just a moment. Yeah. So even if we are praying, a lot of times we even pray to Krishna and we don't get the result. And we get impatient. Oh, this praying also doesn't work, because I've been praying to Krishna that I want this, I want this, I want this, please do this, please do this, please do this. He's not doing anything. So this praying also doesn't work. What we don't realize is that what Prabhupada uses, that he's not at our beck and call. He is not our order carrier. He has heard our prayers. He has heard our desire. And he is the director of a play. He has different actors doing different things. So he cannot just do something in random. He places everybody properly. Just see how much time he took to orchestrate the whole battle of Kurukshetra. How much time did he take to do that? And Pandavas, they never even once said, "Oh Krishna, we are your devotees. What are you doing?" So that is the sign of a devotee, that you understand Krishna has a plan. My plan is to keep, worshipping him, keep depending on him, keep taking his shelter. And Krishna has a plan, and I am willing to wait for as long time as he wants to take. So that should be a devotee's mood, that I am not going to rush Krishna. I'm not going to force him to do things according to my timeline. I'm going to accept his timeline. I'm going to accept his plan. So that is very important for a devotee. Okay, I can see that people have started to switch off their cameras, and it's actually very, very depressing to see that, I can just see some boxes. It's not a very good thing, for anybody to interact with people who are appearing as boxes. So I don't know. I mean, is this your normal thing that none of you actually switch on the camera for any of your classes? Is this normal thing here? So I've been given this special treatment. Is
No, Mataji, it's not like that, but few of the cameras are always switched on, but max of the cameras are always switched off. And
yeah, like I was saying,
speakers have been
I can understand that some people may have some issues, some people may have some service, and someday, so that they can't switch on, but it can't be true every day, right? So you have to understand, if you really want to take in spiritual input, you have to be present. There is some endeavor required at your end. It is not a one-way street. Okay? So Prabhupada says that these activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. So very important lesson to learn. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly. If you look at Prabhupada's life, if he was impatient, none of us would be here. Prabhupada had to endure so much and tolerate so much. And he did that with so much patience because he had firm faith in Krishna's plan. He had this firm faith that Krishna has a plan. I have a plan, but Krishna doesn't have a same plan. So I will wait for Krishna's plan to unfold. So Prabhupada is saying that indeed this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continued to execute our devotions activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in discharging devotion service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activities require both patience and confidence. Very important lesson to learn. Very important thing to actually tell Krishna that Krishna, I have a plan. you have a plan, you know, but I am ready to wait for your plan to unfold. I am ready to accept your plan. My plan is not important. What do I really know? What I think is important right now actually may not be important at all in long term. So what do I really know? I have a plan. I have made a plan, but please reveal your plan and please let me, understand or empower me to execute your plan. So a devotee has to be always be willing to accept Krishna's plan without complaining, without, without becoming impatient. So that's a very important lesson. And Prabhupada gives the example of a newly married girl. He says a newly married girl naturally expects offsprings from her husband, but she cannot expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she's married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her child will develop and be born in due time. She still will have to wait for 9 months. It's not going to happen immediately. So Prabhupada says, similarly in devotional service, surrender means that one has to become confident. And what is that confidence? The devotee thinks, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. And this is called confidence. So confidence means what? To have this full faith that Krishna will protect me and Krishna will help me in the execution of devotional service. And how do we get this confidence that Krishna will protect me and Krishna will help me? How do we get this confidence?
By having faith on Krishna, that whatever the level of surrender, my level of surrender will increase the faith on Krishna. In the worst situation, Krishna will be there to protect me.
Yeah, because Krishna himself declares in Bhagavad Gita, Kante pratijani name bhakta pranashyati. He himself says that, my devotee shall never perish. I will give protection to my devotee. He himself is claiming that. So that is the biggest thing. When we hear the words of Bhagavad Gita, we know Krishna saying all this. He means it. So we place our faith in his words. Even when he says yoga kshemam vahamyam, I'll maintain you. I'll supply what you need and I will maintain what you have. Then Prabhupada says that, as already explained, one should not be idle, but should be very enthusiastic about executing the regulative principles. Tat tat karma pravartana. Neglect of the regulative principles will destroy devotional service. Yesterday we also read something like this. What was that fault? Where one actually ends up neglecting the regulative principles?
Niyamagra.
Niyamagra, yes. In this Krishna consciousness movement, there are 4 basic regulative principles: forbidding illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. A devotee must be very enthusiastic about following these principles. If he becomes slack in following any of them, his progress will certainly be checked. Very important that we should always be very, very careful and act in a way so that we don't really break these regulative principles. And Prabhupada says, Srila Rupa Goswami therefore recommends tat tat karma pravartanat. One must strictly follow the regulative principles of Vaidhi Bhakti. In addition to these 4 prohibitions, there are positive regulative principles, niyam, such as the daily chanting of 16 rounds on Japamala beads. These regulative activities must be faithfully performed with enthusiasm. This is called tat tat karma pravartanat, or varied engagement in devotional service. What are some of the examples of positive regulative principles? Yam, we know, like don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, these are yam. What are some of the niyams, positive regulative principles in devotional life?
With right attitude,
With right attitude, yes. What else?
Mataji, it is not just that you are not supposed to eat this and that. Like, certain things are prohibited, but certain recommendations are there that you should offer the food to Krishna and honor Krishna Prasad. So it is not just negation of the wrong thing, but also engaging our senses in the service of the Lord.
Yes, that eating only prasadam, eat prasad. And similarly, come and take darshan of the deities. Hear about Krishna, read about Krishna, tell people about Krishna. These are some of the niyams. And do this, do. So in NOD, Rupa Goswami says that what is the highest niyam and what is the highest yam? He gives. Do you remember? What is the highest niyam? Always remember Krishna.
Yes.
And what is the highest niyam? Never forget Krishna. So these are the yam and niyam. This is given by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So now somebody can read this text highlighted in pink.
Shall I, Mataji?
Yeah, please go ahead.
In order to be successful in devotional service, one must give up the association of undesirable people. This includes karmis, jnanis, yogis, and other non-devotees. Once, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by one of his householder devotees about the general principles of Vaishnavism, as well as the general routine activities of the Vaishnava. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately replied, Asat Sanga Tyag Ei Vaishnavachar.
Yeah, so this is one thing that Rupa Goswami repeats in second and third verse, Jana Sangha and Sangha Tyaga. One should be actually very, very particular about what association one is keeping. So this is something which actually impacts our devotional service to such a great extent that sometimes we may not even be aware of it. So who are we associating with? And this is, sometimes we're not even aware when we are associating with devotees. We think that anybody who's chanting, we can go and take their association. We have to be very conscious and very careful, like we were discussing yesterday. Who are we associating with? We associate with a person whose qualities we want to imbibe, or we associate with people who we want to show some mercy to, who we want to give Krishna consciousness. We don't just, go and associate with devotees without being conscious of the fact, why am I there? What am I going to get? What's really happening? It is not a mechanical process. It has a deep impact on our heart and our consciousness. So we have to be very careful. Then Prabhupada says, if one lives in the association of devotees, there is little chance of associating with non-devotees. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is opening many centers just to invite people to live in the company of devotees and practice the regulative principles of spiritual life. So again, we can see the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada. So he says that the reason we are opening these temples is not because we want to show people or that we have big temples, but this is actually a way to give association to those who want to associate with the devotees. This is a place where they can come and get association of the devotees. So then Prabhupada says devotional service means transcendental activities. In this Krishna consciousness movement, we require everyone to rise early in the morning by 4 a.m. and attend Mangala Aarti and morning worship, then read Srimad Bhagavatam, perform Kirtan and so forth. Thus we hold continuous activities in devotional service 24 hours daily. This is called Sato Vritte, or following in the footsteps of previous acharyas who expertly filled every moment of time with Krishna conscious activities. So these are some of the rules and regulations of bhakti. When Prabhupada actually talks in Bhagavad Gita, I think it is 13.8 to 12 purport. So he makes it very clear that rules and regulations of bhakti are not the four regulative principles. Rules and regulations of bhakti are getting up early, chanting your rounds, attending Mangala Arati, attending Bhagavatam or reading Bhagavatam, performing some kirtan. These are the rules and regulations of bhakti. So a devotee must be very careful to actually do this. Now, one thing that I want to warn everyone against, that when we read these texts, then a lot of time the tendency is to actually see how others are fitting into all these criterias. But when we read Shastra, our preoccupation should be how is it affecting my life and how is it applicable to my life. We should not really worry so much about what others are doing. We need to worry about what we are doing. That is where the change should come from. That's where the change should start from. Normally, when we read these kind of shastras, first thing we start doing is we start preaching to others that, oh, you need to do this. You don't get up in the morning, you should start getting up in the morning. Prabhupada says so. So instead of doing that, even though the temptation may be there, instead of doing that, we should first try to see, where am I at? What do I need to change in my life? How do I need to apply these texts? And not worry so much about others. Even if we are preachers, we need to be a little detached, in the sense that we tell people about what's the right thing to do, what's the ideal thing to do. But we don't get attached to the fact that I've told you and still you're not doing it. We don't have that attachment. We tell them because it's a duty to make them aware, but at the same time, we do that in a detached mood. That I'm trying to give you Krishna consciousness, but it's your free will, whether you'll take it up or not. When Krishna does not impose his will on us, how can we impose our will on others? So we have to be careful about that. Okay, so all these things are for our personal application. First, we need to change ourselves before we decide to change the world. Is that okay? Any questions so far?
Mataji, here this reading of Srimad Bhagavatam is mentioned. It means any Srila Prabhupada books. It is not this specific that Bhagavatam, like at many places Prabhupada mentions that we should read Srimad Bhagavatam. So that means that spiritual text.
Yeah, even Srimad Bhagavatam for that matter, why can't we read Srimad Bhagavatam? We can also read Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no such thing as that people can't read Srimad Bhagavatam. Is there any apprehension that, no, people don't need to read Srimad Bhagavatam? Is there any apprehension like that?
No, for example, in our daily reading, if we are reading some other book, so
That's
is it-
okay. That's okay, but we can also read Srimad Bhagavatam daily.
okay.
Bhagavatam is Krishna in his literary form. There's no difference between Bhagavatam and Krishna. Prabhupada says that a devotee sees Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam. So we should, it's a good habit to have to read Bhagavatam daily. It's a good thing to do. Even if you're reading some other books, and if you have limited time, then after you finish that book, you can start with Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay.
Anything else, or should we proceed?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I have one doubt. As in this shloka, the first letter is Utsah. So Utsah comes when we are having prasadam. We are very enthusiastic to have the tempting prasadam, or doing having the dham visit, or the darshans also. But that Utsah doesn't come when we are reading scriptures with a lot of enthusiasm. We require a lot of motivation, or maybe some push up, like you have to do it because we have a sadhana chart, we have to follow it. But that utsaha doesn't come when we are having the prasadam. that level of utsaha doesn't, I'm talking about myself, that doesn't come at that time. So how I can build that level of enthusiasm while reading the scriptures with
Yeah, yeah, I understand. So first thing is association. Associate with devotees who are enthusiastic about reading. If you really want to catch enthusiasm, that's the first thing you do. You associate with devotees who have this great enthusiasm for reading. And this is how you will catch it. And second, Prabhupada says in many places, the better your sadhana is, the more enthusiastic you'll be in your devotional life. And then the third thing is that before we start to read, like we discussed yesterday, if we pray, and when revelation happens by Krishna's mercy, by mercy of Srila Prabhupada, then you will get addicted to reading Shastra, because that taste you'll not get anywhere else. We don't like reading Shastra because we're not getting the taste. We like doing things where we can instantly experience some taste. But if we read in that prayerful mood, if we read in the mood of dependence, then the taste comes. And once you experience that taste, you will never give up reading Shastra. Okay? Okay, then Prabhupada says, if one strictly follows the advice given in this verse by Srila Rupa Goswami, namely being enthusiastic, being confident, being patient, giving up the association of unwanted persons, following the regulative principles, and remaining in the association of devotees, one is sure to advance in devotion service. So Rupa Goswami is giving us the keys how we can advance in devotion service, by becoming enthusiastic, confident that Krishna is my protector and he will always protect me, maintain me, being patient that Krishna, I am ready to accept your plan according to your timeline, and giving up the association of unwanted persons. First, we should be able to discern that who's actually not favorable for my Krishna consciousness. That person may look like a devotee, may dress like a devotee, but we need to make that distinction. And then following the regulative principles and remaining in the association of devotees. Then Prabhupada says that in this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks that the cultivation of knowledge by philosophical speculation, the collection of mundane opulence by the advancement of fruitive activities, and the desire for yoga siddhis, material perfections, are all contrary to the principles of devotional service. Why are these all contrary to the principles of devotional service? Why cultivation of
Hare
knowledge
Krishna
by,
Mataji,
yeah.
can you please repeat the question?
Why cultivation of knowledge by philosophical speculation, collection of mundane opulence, by the advancement of fruitive activities, and desire for yoga siddhis are all contrary to the principles of devotional service? Harshita?
Hare Krishna, Mahaji Pranam.
Hare
Mahaji,
Krishna.
because they don't bring our focus to Krishna. Like the main thing is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So none of these enable us to remember Krishna. So that is why they're contrary.
Thank you. Yeah, these are all for me. There's nothing for Krishna in this. So the definition of pure devotion service is also ahetuki apratihata. That means there should be no motivation, or gyan karmadhi anavritam, no contamination of gyan and karma and yoga. So that is why this is not according to the principles of devotional service. It is devotional service means it has to be anukulen. It has to be done in the mood of favorable service to Krishna. If it is not done with the mood to please Krishna, it is not devotional service. It may be many things, but it is not devotional service. This is the definition given by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anukulen is a Swarup Lakshan. If Anukulen is missing, if the Swarup Lakshan is missing, it is not Bhakti. Anandita?
Yes, Mataji, I had the same point that in all these things, personal aspirations are there, and we will be stuck in this material world only.
Yeah, thank you. Then he says one has to become thoroughly callous to such non-permanent activities and turn his intention instead to the regulative principles of devotional service. What is Prabhupada saying? Turn his intention. That become conscious of performing the regulative principles of devotional service. Your intent should be there. One needs to be conscious. And then Prabhupada says that engagement in the devotional service of the Lord is the life and soul of the living entity. It is the desired goal and it is the supreme perfection of human life. One has to become confident about this, and one also has to be confident that all activities other than devotional service, such as mental speculation, fruitive work, or mystic endeavor, will never yield any enduring benefit. Complete confidence in path of devotional service will enable one to attain his desired goal. But attempting to follow other paths will only succeed in making one restless. Can we think of some examples that even we are on path of bhakti, still we try to introduce some other processes? Can you think of some examples?
Can you little bit elaborate?
That even on the path of devotional service, we introduce some other processes which are not really pure bhakti.
Mataji, when we wear that, just and I'm guessing it, when we wear that planetary rings, some jewel kind of a ring, or when we show, when suppose parents are not too much in the devotional activities because they don't have a lot of faith, especially our ancestral family, so they, when they took our what we say jan patra to the some pandit and to see what is good is coming in his or her life. So
Yeah, that astrology is the most fascinating thing. Yeah. It's the most fascinating example. Recently, very old devotee, she called me and she said that I did not go to the astrologer, but we have a family astrologer, and he predicted that next 4 years are going to be very troublesome for my health. So next 4 years are going to be really troublesome. So he's suggesting certain pujas, certain things, especially like something called Mahamrityunjay Path. He's suggesting that. So should I do it? So then I counter question that is it really favorable for one's devotional service to take shelter of such things, such suggestions? So they said, well, I am not chanting Mahamrityunjay, but this guy is going to chant on my behalf. So I asked, how's that different? If you give sanction, that means you're placing your faith in that mantra. That means you don't have enough faith in Krishna and his protection. Somebody else may be doing it on your behalf, but you are the one who's sanctioning it. You are the one who's paying for it. So how is that you're showing that? How is that by that action you're showing a complete faith in Krishna? How is Avashya Rakshabe Krishna applicable here? That means we don't have full faith in Krishna. So even if we may be practicing bhakti yoga, sometimes, especially this happens when distress comes, then the true element of a devotee gets exposed. I've seen many examples that sometimes devotees get really bad case of chicken pox or something like this, and the suggestions that fly in are like, oh, you must worship Shitla Devi, or give her some kind of prasad or do some kind of charity on her behalf. So this may happen very innocently, but a devotee should be always very careful. Am I placing my full faith in bhakti, Or am I thinking that there may be some other processes which I need to supplement my bhakti with? Sometimes the mind also plays some tricks that I want this puja to be done so I can be absolutely fit to pursue my devotional service. I'm doing this for devotional service. I don't have any motivation to enjoy. So if you're doing it for devotional service, then depend on Krishna, Baba, because then Krishna will take care of you. And if he needs to put you through certain purificatory process, let him put you through that, because that is required in your life. So don't take shelter of other processes. So a devotee needs to be very careful about that too. So then Prabhupada says, Harshita?
Hare Krishna, Madhuri. Madhuri, this astrology example only, where does the concept of Muhurat falls in? Because many times I've heard, now I cannot cite the reference right now because I don't remember. I heard that sometimes Prabhupada considered Muhurats also for some things. And in our temple openings also, we see that this Muhurat is favorable, not favorable. So how to understand this, that it is not taking shelter, it is all right. Like we also we're also not at that level. मुझे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. I'm above all this and all. I don't care for anything. So how is to make the balance, how to understand?
See, one thing is, it's not that we have that attitude that I don't really care or I'm above this. Our attitude is that if we have to depend on anybody or ask for anybody to help us, we are only going to depend on Krishna. We are not going to depend on anybody else. We are going to depend on Krishna. My dependence is on Krishna. So now we have to understand that astrology is a Vedic science. Astrology is not something which is against bhakti. Astrology is a predictive science. It can predict that this can go wrong or this can go right. So once we get that prediction, if somebody is trying to use astrology, then you can make some changes in a way which is conducive for your Krishna consciousness. For example, if there is astrological some prediction that you're going to have a heart disease, or your heart is weak, or you can get heart disease. Now you have realized that this is a prediction. What will you do Krishna consciously? You start walking, you start taking care of your health. You will start eating in a way which is regulated. So you start monitoring those things instead of getting some puja done. So astrology is used as a predictive science. And as far as muhurats are concerned, yes, we do that for our temple opening, because we want everything to go auspicious. But that does not mean that we are placing our faith in demigods. We want everything to be auspicious, and all the processes that are done, all the upchars that are done, are all related to Vishnu or all related to Krishna. We don't take shelter of demigods. Is that okay, Harshita?
Yes, Madhuri. Madhuri, personally, I was just told one thing by an astrologer that she told me to take only Ayurvedic medicine because that would be more effective for me. And she also said that when you start the medicine, you can ask me on which day to start, so I can tell you the most favorable day that when you start that it will be best for you.
That's okay. That's not against devotional practice.
Okay.
That choosing a right muhurat is not against devotional activities or devotional process. There's no problem with that. It's not in contradiction.
Okay. Yeah, I just felt that I'm depending on her or something.
No. This is a Vedic science. But you see, the thing is, astrology in its pure form is actually, it can be very helpful. But now the astrology that we see has been contaminated by a lot of demigod worship and a lot of demigod related, related answers. Like if you go to a devotee astrologer, and if there is some affliction in your chart, they will suggest you chant this Krishna mantra, or they'll tell you, okay, you chant Gajendra Moksha, for a few days. So
That is
that
correct.
is favorable for bhakti. But somebody is telling you chant Mahamrityunjay or chant Durga Chalisa. That is not favorable because that shows that you're placing your faith in someone other than Krishna. Right?
Yes. So Maji, if someone tells us do this part, the bad time is coming. So instead of not doing that demigod part, can we increase on our own? Can we just increase, like, I will chant one round extra to take more shelter of Krishna? I
Yeah,
can 15.
and we can pray like that Krishna, I came to know this bad time is coming. I don't have a problem. My only problem is I don't want to become lax in my devotional service. You please protect that. You please protect that and give me the strength. I'm not complaining. I just need that strength to endure this phase. So give me that strength. There's nothing wrong in that.
So we can use it to increase our devotional
Of
service.
course, every situation that comes in our life can be used to increase our devotional service. Good or bad, every situation can be used favorably for devotional service. And actually when suffering comes, that is the highest benediction, because what you learn at that time you can't learn during good times. And the way one can learn to take shelter, and you can't learn during good times. So when suffering comes, instead of complaining, we should start seeing that as Krishna's mercy. And Krishna, you really want to teach me a lesson. You really want to do to make me serious. I'm ready to do that. All I need is your protection and your shelter.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Yeah.
The astrology is so tricky, this astrology question. So thank you so much, Maji, for clarifying.
Yeah, so we are not in a position where we ourselves go out and ask Krishna for problems. No, we are not in the position of Kunti Maharani, that we say, oh, please give me more issues so that I can remember you. We never say that because we don't have the spiritual muscle to undergo that. But we should, but when problems come, we should understand Krishna has sanctioned this. There is a lesson for me here. I need to learn that lesson, and this is my time to take shelter of Krishna, even with more, with more depth. I need to go deeper in my Krishna consciousness. This is the time to take shelter. And also when suffering comes, we get to see the raw face of this material world. We get to see that there's so many lessons. We get to see that how this place is not meant for our enjoyment. This is actually Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. We also get to see that, all the relationships are temporary. A lot of people will just run away when you go through a bad time. And it is a reinforcement that all these relationships I was investing so much of my time and energy in are not really, worth investing. I should instead be investing my time and energy in Krishna and his pure devotees. So it's also a very wonderful wake-up call. So when things go wrong, actually a lot of things go right. So okay, so we don't really run away from astrology. We don't do that, but we learn to see it in the right perspective. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Jai, for your beautiful explanation. When the things go wrong, then we can really understand the things. Mataji, it just came up in my mind. Not very regularly, but once in a year or 2 years. Like you must also be knowing that kabhi kabhi kya hota hai? Somebody may be speaking in good faith, but it मतलब नजर लग जाना, कभी हम appreciate कर देते हैं, even बोलते हैं कि जब बच्चे छोटे होते हैं तो फिर मम्मी की भी नजर लग जाती है if the child has taken food or milk nicely. So sometimes it happens like with my daughter, not with me, that no medicine is working or nothing is working, then I just take shelter of this. एक बार ये भी करके देख लेते हैं. So what I tried to do in these years, that whatever things I take, I just offer it to Nrsimhadev, and I just beg shelter of him, that I don't know whether it is true or not, but I just want to do it by taking your shelter. So I just offer it to Nrsimhadev, and then I just मतलब वो 7 बार जब करते हैं, so I just chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and then I just burn it. Is it fine? This is my total mental concoction, but this has really worked, and I sometimes in bad
This
situations.
is not really against the principles of devotion service, so you can do it. Yeah, you can do it.
आप लोग please इसको imbibe मत करना, but this is what I did, and
Yeah, this is not
I
really
said
against
to
it.
few of my friends, मतलब कि जब उनका भी ऐसा बच्चों के लिए स्पेशली आता है तब.
Yeah, yeah. Mandalesha Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Exactly, in some Sarpa dosha is written in astrology. You have to take that. We are mentioned in that astrology. We have to do that, perform that activities. That we have to go for demigods like Lord Shiva or something like that. Then we should do it or not do it. That,
Who is the master of Shiva? Who does Shiva pray to?
yes, that is right, Mataji. But that dosha should be removed by, if we speak about that, he has to remove that. But there is no.
So Prabhupada also, we read that in NOD, that Prabhupada, some devotees, they went back from India, some foreigners and foreign body devotees, and very early days, and they said that Prabhupada, we learned in India that, Ganesha Puja should be done to remove all the obstacles. So it should be done. So Prabhupada said, yes, there is that, there is that prescription, but Nrsimhadev is the master of Ganesha. Ganesha's, all his, all the powers that he has comes from Nrsimhadev. So we worship Nrsimhadev with the same result. So similarly, if there is any such dosha where it is recommended that you worship Shiva, you can worship Lord Sankarshan. He is the master of Lord Shiva.
One more doubt, Mataji. Exactly, in NOD also it is mentioned that in one chapter that you have to pray to Lord Ganesha. In that it is mentioned. And one more thing that.
Yeah, that is where the explanation given by acharyas is that instead devotee, instead of worshipping Ganesha, worships Nrsimhadev.
One doubt, Mataji. If we are Vaishnavas, we should respect everybody. That even though small animals to demigods and everybody. Then if we respect them, what is the wrong in that doing? But if we are not worshipping, we are not worshipping, but we should give the respect, no Mataji, for that.
I never said that we disrespect them.
But in so many things, we see that in ISKCON, they say that
we don't even disrespect a normal jiva. How can we disrespect demigods?
Yes, Mataji.
Right?
Yes, Madhu. But in if you see Radhika on this and gopis also, they were praying for Krishna
What were they praying for? What were they praying for?
For Krishna only.
Yeah, so you
They
can
have taken the shelter of.
You can go to Shiva and ask him that you are Vaishnava Yatha Shambhu, you are the topmost Vaishnava. Please give me your mercy so I can become a dedicated devotee of Krishna. There's no harm in that.
Yes.
Depends on what you're asking, with what consciousness you're approaching them.
That only. If you are going for material demands, then it is not favorable.
Yeah, so
but if you are going for any.
If there is a Sarpa dosha and you're going to Lord Shiva for that, then it is actually approaching him for a material benefit. So you should, instead, if you have to even ask anything materially, or if you have to, if you're worried about your devotional life, then you should ask Lord Krishna himself. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. Whether you have some desire, you don't have a desire, you have desire for liberation, approach Krishna in all circumstances. That is what is recommended.
Okay, Mother. Thank you very much.
Harshita, you had a question?
See, when we pray to Lord Nrsimhadev as well, so sometimes I've heard some devotees say that why pray to Lord Nrsimhadev, why chant Narsingh Kavach, why don't just chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra? Don't you have complete faith in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But so that is one argument. And then, but Prabhupada only taught us this. So how can it be against? So
It
just
is not against.
fusion
It's,
result.
first of all, yes, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is complete in itself. But are we really able to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra like that? No, we are not. We need to take shelter. And if we are taking shelter of Nrsimhadev, there's nothing wrong in it. Like you said, Prabhupada himself recommended that Nrsimhadev should be installed and Nrsimha prayers should be sung. When Prabhupada fell ill, and all the devotees asked him that, Prabhupada, what can we do? What should we do? Prabhupada said, you can chant Nrsimhadev prayers. You can request Nrsimhadev that if you, oh Lord, if you so desire, we never force the Lord, oh Lord, please do this. We say, oh Lord, if you so desire, then please, this is my desire. If you so desire, you can fulfill my desire.
If you so desire, nahi nikalta.
That's also okay. That's also okay. I remember when His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj was in Florida, and he had contracted COVID and he had slipped into coma. So a lot of Prabhupada disciples were giving classes to his disciples, just to kind of give them some support, show some solidarity with them. So Bhurijan Prabhu gave one class, his Grace Bhurijan Prabhu, who's Prabhupada's disciple. He gave one class, and so the devotees asked him that, Prabhuji, how should we pray? We want our Guru Maharaj to become all right. So how should we pray? So then he said that this is the process Prabhupada has given us, that we can pray to Nrsimhadev. Oh Lord, if you so desire, please cure our Guru Maharaj. So you can pray like that. And some devotees said, Maharaj, we don't want to leave it to the Lord. That if you so desire, we want him to cure him. We don't want to say this. Somehow we're not able to say this, that, oh Lord, if you so desire. Like you just said, wo nikalta nahi hai. So then he said, that is okay. Krishna understands the state of your heart. So you can say, oh Krishna, please do this. Ultimately, what Krishna desires is what's going to happen. But you can say this, that, okay, Krishna, this is what I want. And Krishna understands attachment. He's not a tyrant. He understands that this is where you're at. But the best thing to do is not to force Krishna to act in any way. Just place your request in front of him and tell him, Krishna, my desire is this, but I am willing to accept whatever your plan is. I'm absolutely okay with your plan. It is not an easy thing to do. Not an easy thing to do. But we have to get there. Okay? Is that okay?
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Mataji, can I say something regarding this? Even I had this doubt for many years that when Prabhupada has given us foolproof thing of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then why do we take shelter? And even I know about Prabhupada's thing also. But once I think Krishna answered my question through, I think His Grace Janani Mas Prabhu or Pankaj Jangri Prabhu. He said, yeah, the one who has left, I think
Pankaj
Jangri Prabhu. So somebody was saying when he departed, then somebody asked a question, why should we pray? Then I was like, can't you pray like this? That, oh Krishna, Nrsimhadev, please give me power to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra nicely, to do pure devotional service nicely. So this should be the mood to pray to Nrsimhadev.
Yeah, very nice. Even when we are praying for somebody, it is because we feel that their association is going to be helpful for us in our spiritual life, or their association is helpful for the devotees in their spiritual life. They are, they are such stellar examples. So we pray for protection of devotees. There's nothing, it is not against the principles of devotional service. So many yagyas were going on when Pankaj Jangri Prabhu was sick. So many Nrsimha yagyas were going on in Mayapur itself. Right? So, yes, we can choose to depend on Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna Mahamantra has all the potency. But we can also choose to take shelter of Nrsimhadev, because in that form he is especially merciful towards his devotees. So we can choose to take shelter of him. That's also not a problem at all. It is not against devotional principles. Okay? Prabhupada says devotional service is so pure and perfect that once having begun, one is forcibly dragged to ultimate success. I really like the way he says it. One is forcibly dragged to ultimate success. If somebody is practicing and takes shelter of the Supreme Lord and just tries to do something, then, and if one does not offend the devotees, Krishna will make sure that you ultimately reach the success. Because, you must have heard that you try leaving Krishna, Krishna will not leave you. A lot of times this happens that devotees, they decide that, oh, I've had enough. I don't want to do this devotional service. And then they want to leave. But Krishna will keep reminding them that, you need to come back, you need to chant, you need to be in the association of devotees. And a lot of time these devotees, they come back with this realization that actually I was trying to leave Krishna, but Krishna did not let me go. He didn't leave me. So, and he will drag us to the ultimate success, but we have to be careful that we continue to follow the process and we continue to respect devotees and we don't offend the devotees, because that is where, Krishna does not tolerate. So that's something that we have to be careful about. And then he says, even if such an immature devotee falls down, there is no loss on his part. On the other hand, what is the gain of one who executes the prescribed duties according to his varna and ashram, but does not take to devotional service? Although a fallen devotee may take his next birth in a low family, his devotional service will nonetheless resume from where it left off. Devotional service is ahetukiya pratihata. It is not the effect of any mundane cause, nor can it be terminated by any mundane cause or permanently curtailed by any material interruption. Therefore, a devotee should be confident about his engagement and should not be very interested in the activities of the karmis, jnanis, and yogis. So wonderful that if you gain the world, but you've lost your soul, what is the gain? But if you've gained your soul and lost the world, then there's everything to gain. This is from Bible, so I'm just paraphrasing. So we should not really be so worried about material success. Yes, it is important, but that should not be our preoccupation. We should do it as a duty, but not get preoccupied with it. Our preoccupation should be, how can I become successful in my Krishna consciousness? Then Prabhupada says, since all the devotees of the Lord are under the protection of His supreme potency, they should not deviate from the path of devotional service and take to the path of karmi jnani or yogi. This is called utsaha nishchaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat. Enthusiastically executing the regulative activities of devotional service with patience and confidence. In this way, one can advance in devotional service without hindrance. Okay, so we just finished the third verse. So, like I said, that these two verses are practice verses if one wants to come to the verse number 1. This is what we need to practice to come to that. So, like I said yesterday, that write down how in your life these faults are there, and also write down how these six activities and 6 behaviors that Rupa Goswami is actually encouraging, how is that affected in your life, or how is that impacting your life? Okay, so just do this exercise. You don't have to share it with anybody, but just do it for your own personal growth. Is that okay? So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I don't want to start verse number 4. I think we'll start it tomorrow. But if you have any question or any comment, then we can discuss that. Okay, so looks like it's an early day for you all. So tomorrow is a very important day. It's a big day. Not because it's Valentine's Day, but because it's the appearance and disappearance of a lot of our acharyas. Yes, Harshita.
Madhuri, previously in this session, there was talk about being straightforward and being blunt. Can you please give an example? Because I used to consider them almost synonymous. So can you please give an example where it is straightforward but still sweet, and where it is blunt, so just so that I
Okay.
can fit it in my head?
I can give a very simple example. So I tell you to do some service. And you either cannot do it or you don't want to do it. Now, straightforward means that you let me know that I won't be able to do this service. So that service can be done by someone else. Not being straightforward is okay and not doing it. That is being diplomatic. That how can I say no? So the loss is that you don't do that service and that service doesn't get done, right? At all by even anyone else. That is duplicity. Now you can refuse me by saying, Mataji, I won't do it. This is being blunt. But you can also do it very nicely. Mataji, I cannot do it. Because I have this reason for not being able to do it. Maybe if you gave it to somebody else, they can do a better job. So straightforward in both the conditions. But one is actually doing it in a way which is not palatable, and the other is doing it in a way which is palatable. Nobody can get offended if you speak like this. Nobody will take an offense. Right?
Mataji, sometimes blunt makes us rude also, because
Yeah,
we don't know.
offensive.
Yeah, it's offensive because sometimes, actually, I've heard it. If some authority is giving us some service, so maybe our mentor is not liking it, or maybe some senior person is not liking it, why you have given the service to him or her. So you can bluntly say no. So they prescribe this, okay? But it makes us too offensive because we are the person which we are denying him having a Krishna in his heart. So actually we are saying no to the Krishna for
We
that
can say
service.
no to Krishna. We can say no to a service. Don't, this is not the principle here. We can say no to a service. Always remember that when you say no to something, you're actually saying yes to something else. You may not be doing that service because maybe it is too much for you and it spoils your consciousness for the rest of the day. You are not doing that service because you are not skilled for that, and you can take, and somebody else can do a better job, and you can take a service which you are really skilled at. So there can be, saying no is not the issue. One can say no.
Yeah, as you mentioned that we can say no for a specific reason, but
Yeah,
every time saying no and in a blunt mood, that also makes us very
even
rude.
if you say no every time, even if you say no every time, do it in a way which is not agitating. If even every time you have a reason for not doing a certain service, say you don't have an aptitude for fundraising, and the authority is every time telling you to do some fundraising, and you think I'm not really cut out for that, I can't do it. So every time they tell you, you can say no, that I sorry Prabhu, sorry Mataji, I cannot do this. I don't have the temperament to do this, please give me something else to do. So even if you say no every time, that's not the problem. The problem is how it is being said. Shruti?
Hare Krishna. Mataji, the last thing which we have shared in the last paragraph, there was one sentence that a devotee should not leave the path of devotional service and take to the path of karmi, jnanis, and yogis. So, suppose there is one full-time devotee who is serving full-time in the temple and he is getting some little maintenance, but he has some desires or he feels that the maintenance is not sufficient, and then he goes outside to work for a job, and he's trying to balance his Krishna consciousness. But that does that mean that he has left devotional service and taken to the path of a karmi?
If you go for a job outside, you are a grihastha, you need money to maintain yourself, you're not getting enough maintenance from the temple, I would say that's actually an honest action. Instead of cheating others, stealing from the temple, you choose to go out and work and earn your money. It's actually very good. That shows high character. It's not easy to become full time and then go out to work again. It's not easy. But that person is choosing to do the right thing rather than to do the wrong thing. If you cannot maintain your family, you cannot maintain yourself with the maintenance that you're getting, and you go out and try to maintain your spiritual life at the same time, balance it properly, there's no harm in that.
And if he's doing it just out of some desires and like that, maybe does not need.
Yeah, it's the motivation which will determine what it is. If the desire is sense enjoyment, that I'm not getting enough sense enjoyment with the money I have, I need to make money for sense enjoyment, then it is a contamination of karma.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
But if he's doing it for the purpose that I need to maintain my family and this is not enough, it's not, I'm not able to do it, then, and he goes and looks for a job outside, there's no problem in that.
Okay, but if there is some other motivation that
Yeah,
he-
like I said, even yesterday and today, the intent or the motivation actually determines the result.
okay. So if there is some material desire behind it, then it is karma.
Yeah, if there is some material desire, then it will come in the category of karma yoga, karma mishrit, bhakti, depending on how strong it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, devotees. Thank you very much for being very patient. So, Krishna willing, God willing, we'll meet tomorrow and cover the 4th verse. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.